Welcome back again. Today I'd like to tell you about a journey toward enlightenment, the story of Kavi. In a small village nestled at the foot of mist-covered mountains, there lived a man named Kavi. He was a simple man living a life of quiet routine as a farmer, tending to his fields and animals. To the villagers, Kavi seemed content. He had his daily tasks, his family, and his friends. Yet deep within him stirred a restless longing, a sense that there was something more to life, something he had not yet discovered. Kavi's journey toward enlightenment began unexpectedly one evening as he sat by his fire, gazing at the stars. The cool mountain breeze brushed his face, and he felt a stirring in his heart, a desire to know the truth of the world, to understand the nature of his existence. He had heard the village elders speak of the teachings of the Buddha, and a part of him felt a quiet pull toward those ancient words. But the life of a farmer, with its unyielding demands, had always kept him too busy to think deeply. That evening, however, as the fire crackled and the night stretched on, Kavi made a decision. He would seek the answers that had eluded him for so long. The next day, Kavi left his farm in search of wisdom. He knew that the path to enlightenment was not a simple one, but he was determined to follow it. His journey took him through dense forests, over rolling hills, and across small rivers. After many days of travel, he arrived at a small monastery perched high in the mountains. The air was thin, and the sounds of nature were more pronounced here. The monks who lived there were known for their wisdom, and Kavi hoped they could guide him on his journey. At the monastery, Kavi met a monk named Ananda, a serene and compassionate man who had spent many years in contemplation. Kavi explained his longing for knowledge and his desire to understand the true nature of life. Ananda listened carefully and then spoke with a gentle smile. Enlightenment is not something that can be handed to you, Kavi, Ananda said. It is a journey of your own making, but I can show you the way. You must learn to look within yourself to see the world as it truly is. Kavi was eager to learn, but unsure of how to begin. Ananda suggested that he meditate in solitude for 3 days, without any distractions. He was to focus on his breath and simply observe his thoughts and feelings without attachment or judgment. Kavi, though skeptical, agreed. Kavi found a quiet spot in the monastery garden beneath a large ancient tree. He sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to focus on his breath. The first few moments were easy enough, but soon his mind began to wander. Thoughts of his farm, his family, and the daily struggles of life came rushing in. He felt restless, frustrated by his inability to silence his mind. For hours he wrestled with his thoughts, trying to control them, but they continued to surge forward like waves crashing against a shore. On the second day, Kavi grew tired of his inner turmoil. His back ached, and his thoughts felt like an uncontrollable storm. But then a quiet voice inside him whispered, "What if I stop fighting? What if I simply let my thoughts come and go without clinging to them?" With this realization, Kavi shifted his approach. Instead of battling his thoughts, he allowed them to rise and fade away without interference. He noticed how they came and went without lasting permanence. Slowly, the turbulence in his mind began to subside, and he experienced a moment of deep stillness. It was as though the clouds parted, and for a brief moment, Kavi glimpsed a profound sense of peace. On the third day, Kavi meditated with a newfound clarity. His breath felt steady and natural, and his thoughts were no longer a source of frustration. He simply observed them as if watching clouds pass across the sky. He realized that his mind was not an enemy to be conquered, but a tool to be understood. In that moment of quiet understanding, Kavi felt a deep connection to everything around him, the tree, the earth beneath him, and the vastness of the mountains. He felt for the first time that he was part of something much greater than himself. After completing his 3 days of meditation, Kavi returned to Ananda, who greeted him with a warm smile. "What have you learned, Kavi?" the monk asked. "I have learned that the mind is like a river," Kavi replied. "It flows continuously, but if I try to hold on to the water, I will only struggle. If I let it flow freely without resistance, it becomes peaceful. I have also learned that the world around me is not separate from me. I am connected to everything, the earth, the trees, the animals. In that stillness, I felt one with all." Ananda nodded. "You have made great progress, Kavi, but the journey is not over. You must now learn to bring this understanding into your daily life. It is easy to find peace in solitude, but true enlightenment comes when you can carry that peace with you, even in the midst of chaos." Kavi took Ananda's word to heart. He spent many months at the monastery, continuing his meditation and studying the teachings of the Buddha. But as he grew in understanding, he also realized that true enlightenment was not found in isolation. It was found in the way one lived, in the relationships one nurtured, and in the compassion one showed to others. Eventually, Kavi felt ready to return to his village. He had gained insight into the nature of his mind, and he had learned to live with greater awareness and peace. But he knew that his work was far from over. The true test would be how he lived in the midst of his everyday life. When Kavi returned to the village, things had not changed. The same challenges existed. His farm still required hard work, his family needed his support, and the villagers still faced their struggles. But Kavi no longer saw them through the lens of attachment and frustration. He approached his daily tasks with a calm, mindful presence. When a problem arose, he responded with clarity and patience. When a neighbor was in need, he offered his help without expectation. One day, a fellow farmer struggling with anger and resentment approached Kavi. "I've heard that you've changed," the man said. "You seem at peace no matter what happens. How do you do it?" Kavi smiled gently and replied, "I have learned that peace comes not from controlling the world around me, but from understanding my own mind. When I let go of my attachments, I find freedom. The world is as it is, but I can choose how I respond. The farmer, inspired by Kavi's words, began his own journey toward peace. And as the years passed, Kavi continued to live in the village, offering his wisdom to others, not through grand gestures, but through simple acts of kindness and understanding. His journey toward enlightenment had not been a solitary one. It had become a path that extended outwards, touching the lives of those around him. Kavi's journey toward enlightenment was not a sudden or dramatic transformation. It was a gradual unfolding, marked by moments of insight, struggle, and deep reflection. His path led him from restlessness and doubt to clarity and peace, and eventually to a life of mindful engagement with the world. Through his journey, Kavi learned that enlightenment is not a destination, but a continuous process of awakening. It is found not in escaping the world, but in embracing it fully, with an open heart and a clear mind.